What is up, YouTube? Welcome back. It is currently Friday. Um, Today we got some big stuff to talk about. I'm filming two things today. Obviously, I gotta release my NFL predictions. So I'll be released Saturday as usual, and in this podcast, you'll probably be seeing Wednesday, Thursday, maybe. Um, and it will be my predictions for the upcoming ATP season. This will be all Masters 1000 events, and the ATP Finals, and all Grand Slams. This will also include my top 10 at the end of the year and who I think will be on it. And then that's what we're going to talk about today. Maybe we'll look at the Davis Cup scores. I don't really think there's any need for that, but we'll see the end of the year seeding. The last tournaments have been played. The lowest seeded player at the Australian Open will be Francis Tiafoe. The highest seeded will be Carlitos Alcaraz. And in the middle, that doesn't really matter to me. But speaking of the Australian Open, hopping right into my 2026-2027 ATP, well, not even, it doesn't go to 2027, but my 2026 ATP Tour predictions. Let's start in the Australian Open. We have a hard court Grand Slam, best of five, first to six. That's how, well, first to six games a set, best of five games every set. That is how this works. And my prediction for the Australian Open winner, I think that the final will be picking up right where we left off in the ATP Finals, where Sinner defeated Alcaraz, and I think we'll have a similar result. I think Alcaraz will bounce back from a poor Australian Open performance in this season. He was eliminated, I believe, very early. If we go back and look, like not super early, but like very early for him. Um, in this tournament. Like he should have done better. I'm going back to take a look. He was eliminated in the quarterfinals, so not very early, but like he should have beat Djokovic in the quarterfinal because Djokovic is washed. But beyond that, he's had some weird he had some weird losses at the beginning of the season. He lost to Lehechka. He lost to Draper. Um, he lost to David Goffin in Miami. Monte Carlo, he picked it back up. Barcelona, he picked it up a little bit, made it to the final. Lost to Holger Rune, though. So, he's had a weird year. I think he makes it to the final in the Australian Open. I think he loses to Yannick Sinner. I think Sinner takes that one in 4 sets. I just think Sinner's a better player on the hard court. I think Sinner is peaking higher on hard court than Medvedev ever did. They called Medvedev the hard court specialist back a while ago. The specialist of the hard court, that he had mastered the hard court, but I think Sinner has mastered it better. I mean, literally, if you want to see peak tennis, like if you want to see why you should get into tennis, like I am into tennis, search up Sinner versus Alcaraz best points, or Sinner best points, or Federer best points, and the rallies you will see are just absolutely immaculate. If you see some of these Sinner shots on the hard court, you will be shocked that anyone can do this. And I do see Sinner as the evil villain of tennis, but I still respect this game, and I think he will win the first Grand Slam of the season. The next up, we have the Sunshine Double. No major tournaments for a few weeks. Some 500s, some 250s mixed into there. But the next big tournament is an ATP Masters 1000 event in California, more specifically in the Indian Wells Tennis Garden. And I do not think Sinner or Alcaraz make the finals. This one I have a very hot take, very hot take on this one. But to start, I think that this event, it's going to be kind of weird conditions. Early year in California, I think will be humid, but not too humid. I think Yannick Sinner will lose in the mid rounds of this tournament, while Alcaraz will not compete or lose very early. So I think that they will not even be a factor by the time the semifinals hit. And my genuine prediction for this one is that Zverev makes the final and Felix Auger-Aliassime, who has ended this year on a crazy run to make the ATP Finals, playing amazing on the hardcourt season part 2, and will continue its amazing hardcourt play, be a quarterfinalist in the Australian Open, and win the first Masters 1000 event for the men of the year. And Felix Auger-Aliassime will have the trophy lift in the first leg of the Sunshine Double against Alexander Zverev. I think Zverev just doesn't have what it takes in the clutch. I think he turtles in the clutch like a little baby, and I expect more of the same from him. Next up, we have Miami leg 2 of the Sunshine Double D next week. And I have more of the same. Sinner defeats Carlos Alcaraz. This is how most of the finals are going to be. Alcaraz defeats Sinner. Sinner defeat Alcaraz because they're two of the best player in the world. And there's such a big drop-off after the two players. Now, the WTA is interesting. When I do my predictions for the WTA season, it's going to be a lot more mixed because the drop-off from Sabalenka is not that big, but I think Iga Swiatek is obviously, I think she's the best player in the world right now on the women's side. I don't think her ranking shows that, but the way she plays, like at her peak, she's the best player in the women's tennis world right now. Obviously, all-time Venus Williams is the best, but right now it's easily her. And she's like 7th, or she might have got to 3rd again, but she fell. Anyways, moving past the hardcourt season, if you don't know, the tennis schedule is set up like this. Block 1, the first 15, 20 weeks of the year, or 15 weeks so we were playing on hardcourt. The next 10, or the first 10 weeks of the year we're on hardcourt. The next 7 weeks of the year we're on, or the next 10 weeks of the year we're on, 12. I'll say 12 weeks we're on clay, so we're at 20. Then we have a 7-week grass period, and then the year ends off with 20 weeks of hardcourt. A lot of hardcourt at the end of the year because the conditions get you can't really play on grass or clay. They should extend the grass court season by cutting some of the hardcourts off the front of the year. I do believe that. But for Monte Carlo, the first of the hardcourts, I have Carlitos winning this tournament, but I do not have his opponent being Jannik Sinner. And this is a name that not many people who watch this podcast have heard of. Obviously, if you're in the tennis world, you will know this name. But I actually think that another Spaniard will be in the final of Monte Carlo, and it will be Alexander Davidovich Fokina. I think he will make the final because he's just a very good player on clay. Davidovich Fokina has showed excellent strength on in these last tournaments and throughout the year. He's always been a name where you're not gonna be he's an early round matchup for some of these players, but it's not a player that a lot of these players are gonna see on their schedule and or Alejandro Davidovich Fokina and be excited to play. He's a player that will beat the good players. He beat Hugo Humbert in straights. He took Medvedev to tiebreakers. He dominated Arnaldi. He beat Camilo Ugo Cabrera in an hour. He took Rinderknecht to 5. He beat Shevchenko. At Cincinnati, he won a set. He had to retire early. He would have beat Fonseca. He was up a set and on serve. He took Rublev the distance. Yeah, obviously he's not a player that is shockingly good, but he's also not a player that's bad. He took De Minaur to a 3rd set tiebreaker. He's a very good player, so I don't think he has what it takes to beat Alcaraz, but I think he has what it takes to make a final, and I think he'll pick up a lot of points there, but I still think Alcaraz will win. And I think the next week in Madrid, Alcaraz will continue it by defeating Sinner in the final of the Muta Madrid Open. I just think Sinner is very good and dominates Alcaraz on 2 of the 3 surfaces. That's correct. I think he beats him on grass 70% of the time and hardcourt 80% of the time. But the clay is where Alcaraz doesn't come to play. He's a Spaniard at the end of the day. He's the Nadal incarnate. It's Carlitos. He's going to beat Sinner on clay. But I think in Italy we'll actually see one of the very rare double Italian finals. I think the crowd will rule these two to a final, and I think Jannik Sinner will defeat Matteo Berrettini in straight sets. I back this prediction strongly because again, Berrettini is one of those guys who you never want to see on the schedule, right? He's not a guy that's crazy good. He's not in the top 10 yet, but he definitely could be. And he's very good. And I know I just said that, but he is a scary player to face. And then to round out the clay court season, just like last year at Roland Garros, the second most iconic tennis final of all time, Carlos Alcaraz defeats Jannik Sinner. Last time it took him 6 hours. This time it might be less. But if you remember, we were in the 4th set. The score was 3-5 to Jannik Sinner. and he had a love 40 opportunity to win the match in 4 sets. He sold the opportunity. It slipped through his fingertips. Alcaraz broke him back, won that tiebreak, won the next set tiebreak, and won the tournament. But it's okay, because then 3 weeks later we're at Wimbledon, and Sinner will win Wimbledon, but he will not beat Alcaraz in the final. He will beat Daniil Medvedev. Yes, I think Medvedev still has that push in him, and I think he will get to the final. I think he'll beat Alcaraz along the way, dare I say, but I think he'll lose to Sinner eventually. Um, I think he's capable of being Sinner. I think he could win Wimbledon if he gets hot. Because Medvedev is one of those players who kind of had a resurrection at the end of the year. He won a title, but that the first 4/5 of the year, Medvedev looked like absolute wash trash. But I think he can resurrect. Now we're entering the hardcore season at Canada. Canada is mid-end summer, one of my favorite tournaments to watch. Canada had so much interesting matchups last year, and it was where Benjamin Shelton won his first Masters 1000. That was fun to watch from the American standpoint. Obviously, Kachanov, if he won, I wouldn't have been mad because I love both of them. But Shelton has a special place because of the American pride and how we are not the best at tennis. Obviously, we have higher ranked players, but we do not win. So seeing us win is nice. We didn't even qualify for the Davis Cup this year because of Tiafoe, but that's unimportant. But this year, I think that Rublev will win the Canadian Open. A Russian, I think he gets revenge for his fallen brethren last year in Kachanov, and I think he defeats Yannick Sinner. I think he is one of the few players that beat Yannick Sinner this year. I think Carlos Alcaraz, Andre Rublev, and maybe one sleeper like this year, Public randomly beat him. So I think one random guy can beat him. I don't think Rublev is the random, though. I think Rublev can beat Sinner. I think he will in the Canadian Open. Next, we have Cincinnati, double American final, revenge. Big Francis Tiafoe claims his first Masters 1000 title over Taylor Fritz. He'll also win the Houston Open. He'll also win a title, a 500 level title, but he'll win Dallas, so he'll have a great year. He'll make the top 10 for sure. But he's gonna win a Masters 1000 in Cincinnati. I truly believe that. I think he can beat Taylor Fritz. He took him to 5 all those years ago. What was it, 24? But yeah, that was a rough match to watch back. I watched that one back the other day, the highlights of that one, and you see him hanging there all match. He had a game point to get us to 5-all in the third set or in the fourth set, up 2-1. He lost that and lost it there, and then lost that 5th set pretty badly. Next, New York, and I'm predicting the impossible. Alexander Zverev, Sasha Zverev to win a Grand Slam title. I think he will. I know he chokes in the clutch. I know I've already said that, but I think he'll finally get it done. And I think he'll jump in the rankings for this because I think he'll have a pretty bad year, but this will push him back to the top of the rankings. And then Shanghai and Paris, I have a Sinner Alcaraz final. Sinner winning both. They're both on hard court. And then I don't really want to explain there. There's about Masters 1000 at the end of the year in the Asian swing, and then obviously Paris is in France. But then the ATP finals, I have Alcaraz bouncing back, beating Alex de Minaur in the final. De Minaur showed great heart in the ATP finals this year, and I think he has what it takes to get back to that level and win enough to get to the finals. And there, I think Alcaraz would defeat him. Now, after 14 minutes, it's time for me to give you my top 10 at the end of the year predictions. So, number 10, on the cusp of making a second straight ATP Finals, just missing it, I have Felix Auger-Aliassime. I think he stalls out after his early title, but that title is enough, combined with everything else he does, to get him into the top 10 again. Number 9, I have Francis Tiafoe. I had to put him on the list. I didn't technically put him in ATP Finals contention. We'll say he's just off, but I want him to be there. But I don't know if he can. So I'll be a little less biased and put him at number 9. At number 8, I have Novak Djokovic. I think he has a down year, but I think he stays stable enough. I don't think he wins a major title, but I think he can stay stable enough. And I think he might actually retire at some point this year. And if so, I would replace Musetti there. Lorenzo. I don't have Lorenzo on this list, but I would slip him in there. Or I move everyone up. All right, that's not weird, but I'll put him in there. Move everyone else up one. Make Tiafo win the finals. At number 7, I have the young American Ben Shelton. He ended this year number 5. I think he drops a little bit, but I think his play keeps getting better. I don't think he drops because of the suckiness of him, but rather the greatness of others. Um, Speaking of, that's coming up in a second. Number 6, I have Alex DeMinor. Jumps from 8 to 6. He's great in many ways. I think he's top class. He's one of the best players you can watch tennis of because he is just so freaking fast. Alex DeMinor will get to any ball hit. It is very annoying when you have rooting for the other player, and Alex DeMinor is doing that. But when you can just sit back and watch Alex DeMinor play tennis, it is peak tennis. It really is. At number 5, making the highest jump on this list from number 17 to number 5, I have Andrei Rublev. I guess Tiafoe would be higher because he jumped 21 spots, but that's point of personal bias. Um, Andrei Rublev. Andrei's a great player. He does everything really well, and he really just needs to get into the right mental state. Andrei Rublev has been very open with his mental health struggles, but he threw a lot less rackets this year, threw a lot less temper tantrums, looked like himself, and got back to good form. Didn't have to take a break. I think he's really good. I think he can be good. And I think he will be good into the top 10 into the ATP finals. Number 4, Alexander Zverev. I think he has a down year, but since he wins New York, he's catapulted back into the top 10 to 4th place, where he will stay. I think Taylor Fritz and him will just switch places, move Taylor Fritz up to number 3. I think he has a pretty consistent year, wins some 500s, doesn't win a major title, but, gets the job done. And then number 2, Carlos Alcaraz, which obviously means I think that Yannick Sinner will reclaim the title, unfortunately, but that is just what I believe. Thank you guys for watching this. I'm going to film my NFL predictions now. I'm filming both these on the same night because my flight got moved up. I didn't get moved up, it got canceled, and so we got a new flight in the morning. So I can't film it tomorrow morning because I'm going to be running out the door at 8 a.m., a little before 8 a.m. So we got to get these queued up tonight. So hopefully I'm able to do that. This one should be coming out later. Hopefully it works. I think it worked one other time when I tried this all those years ago. It wasn't years ago, but we'll see. I just want to film this one. Hopefully I put the right one with the right title. That would be embarrassing. I mean, it would still be the same content, but you might get a weird upload, but hopefully not. Thank you for watching.